Alright guys, here's the video I told you I was going to make to have your stream set up. As you can see, I have my open broadcasting software set up right here and the thread in the background that I just wrote. So, we'll go over this one step at a time. So what you really want to do to set up a stream is you need a couple of things, like I said in the thread here. The first thing that you really should do is set up your audio. The audio really is what you're going to need to set up so that everything else can see what they're doing. What I mean by that is if you don't have your audio set up, the games that you're playing on will not be able to play back their sound on that audio cable. So we'll set this up first. Alright, so I already have virtual audio cable running right here. Now, I don't need this running to have it work. It can be closed. But once you set up those cables, they'll start working. So what you are going to do is you go after setting virtual audio cable, select volume mixer and playback devices. Alright, so if I go into my playback here, you can see that virtual audio cable has set up 3 lines for me, and that's because when I went to the program earlier, I had 3 lines set up. Now, you don't need all 3 lines, but you really should have at least 2 if you're going to be doing this. The reason that is because most streaming services like YouTube and Twitch have in their terms of service that you cannot rebroadcast music that you're listening to. And you can see that I am listening to music right now. And I like listening to music while I'm doing things, so I want to be able to hear music, but I don't want to have my videos taken down or muted because I'm listening to music. So, and I can tell you that the music is working. If I go into my volume mixer again, so here's where the music is. It's playing through Adobe Flash because that's how iHeartRadio plays it back. If I turn it all the way up, you can see that the sound is right here and it is playing. And I turn that back down to a comfortable level for myself. So what I want to do now is make sure that that sound is only heard on my speakers. By default, Firefox and Adobe Flash both play to whatever default device you are currently using. So my current default device are my speakers. And there's no way you can change that, unfortunately. I have seen plugins for Firefox to be able to change that. But I mean, in the end, if you really want to put music on a different audio cable, you technically can. It's just a matter of changing everything around so that if you want to exclude something, you exclude it. If you want to include something, you include it. I'm going to show you how to exclude something, like music. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that what you're hearing is just my microphone and whatever other programs I want you to hear. So let's assume that I want you to hear the game I'm going to be playing in TeamSpeak. Alright, so in TeamSpeak, now that I have all the virtual audio cables set up, I'm going to go into Settings, Options, and you can see that Playback is already selected, and Playback Device is line 2, which means that all sound that is received by TeamSpeak, so anyone talking to me on TeamSpeak, is going to be played on line 2. Now here's a slight problem. That means that if I'm not listening to line 2 as my default speaker, I can't hear anything that's happening on TeamSpeak. But, so the way that I fix this and I get around it, once I set up TeamSpeak to play through line 2, go into Recording, and I go into line 2, Properties, Listen, and in here I can adjust line 2's properties so that anything that is played on line 2 right here is then recorded onto line 1 right here. So, and that happens because I have listened to this device selected and playback through device is set to line 1. That means that if I want to have anything that is on line 2 recorded, all I have to do is select line 1. I could also select line 2 as my recording. Now, you could have it set up so that, let's say I had a different audio source playing through line 1, and I don't want that audio source to be heard, or I want that audio source to be heard in a different way. That means that I'm going to make that audio source heard when I'm selecting line 1 as my output. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to make it so that line 2 is our main way of hearing everything that we want the stream to hear. Same thing, line 1, so let's assume this is your line 2. You could actually set this up the same way. And I have it set up so that, TeamSpeak gets recorded onto line 2, line 2 then records that recording onto line 1, and then line 1 plays back that recording to my speakers. You don't need this many layers. You could have it so that your line 2 is directly playing to your speakers, and then have your broadcasting software only listen to line 2 instead of what's playing on your speakers. So, yeah, I mean, this is a little overcomplicated, but, this is the way I learned it. Do what works for you. So what you do next is after having all your audio set up, is we're going to set up Open Broadcasting Software. Now, Open Broadcasting Software, the way it works, is you have different scenes and you have different sources. Each scene, if you change it, you won't be able to see what I'm doing right now because I've just changed it to my Twitch scene, which is my actual live broadcast versus a recording broadcast. Now, if I wanted to, I could add another scene and name it. Let's say I want to put in Diablo. Again, you won't be able to see anything as soon as I add it, but Diablo is there. So, in order to show you how to get this to work, I'm actually going to show you the rest right here by having computer selected. If you have your scene Diablo selected, you can do all these steps and not have to worry about messing anything up. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add a source. And I want to add Diablo as a source. So we're going to start up Diablo. Now here's the major problem. Technically you could set it up just like I have it right now, and I could show you how this is set up, but this is recording everything that's on my computer right now. No matter what's happening, it's recording all video that's happening. So the browser, the game launcher, Overwolf, everything. So here's Diablo starting up. You can see everything in the background. And you won't be able to hear Diablo because Diablo, by default, is set up to play its sound through its default device. So we're going to change that so that my stream can hear Diablo. So what I'm going to do first is go into Game Menu, Options, Sound, and here's your sound output. I want to change this to my line 2. I'm going to apply, and the sound has gone down quite a bit. Now the reason that is you weren't able to hear it before, but it was actually really loud. The reason it's actually softer now is because in my settings here, the volume mixers are set up so that everything that I'm hearing is lower when I'm playing it through the virtual audio cable. It's nice to have volume balancing so that way the stream sounds good, your voice sounds good, and having more audio cables to control that sound is better. So if I go back in here, you can see that you can still see Overwolf, you can still see all the desktop, but I don't want my stream to see that. So what I want to do is add Diablo as a capture. So again, you can do this on the Diablo scene or on PlanetSide scene, whatever you decide to capture. We're going to add, and we're going to add a game capture. We'll name it. And in here you can see that Diablo is one of the applications I can set. I could also set my Battle.net launcher, which would be kind of boring. I could set Firefox, and if I did that, all this would record is Firefox. It wouldn't record anything else. So we're going to select Diablo. We're going to hit OK. So now you can see that Diablo looks like it's still being played in the same spot. But if I move the window, you can see that there are actually two instances of Diablo now. There's the one that my monitor capture is capturing, and then there's one that the game capture is capturing. So if I shut this off, you can see that it is changing. Alright, so we're going to shut off Diablo for now, so that you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to go in Properties, actually Settings, and in here is where you can change all your broadcasting settings. Now, the way you know what to set your broadcasting at is in the thread I put a link called OBS Estimator. You open that link and you get this website. In this website, you put in exactly what you have for your computer. I have an FX quad core. I do have an AMD Radeon, it's a 7580, so that's correct. We're going to say that this is high motion capture. Now, how fast is my upload speed? You go to speedtest.net and find the closest streaming server to you. So here's speedtest.net. So we're going to find a server, and we select the closest server to us. Let's assume that Boston is where the streaming server is going to. Again, you can look this up by going into Twitch and seeing where their streaming service is. Now, these numbers should not be affected by the fact that I'm recording, because I'm not using the internet to record. The only thing that's using the internet right now is, my radio right here. So this shouldn't be affecting anything. So we're going to let this run. And once it's, done, we're going to say, okay, what's our upload speed? My upload speed right now is only a 6, which is not great at all. But as you can see, I'm still able to record and upload this video, and it will be fine. And I know that because when I'm actually recording, I can see that my frames per second are limited at the moment. And that's because of the way that this is set up. So if I go into my broadcast and go into video, now it's not going to actually change my frames per second until I change it by stopping my recording. So there is that. But anyway, I don't need high frames per second to show you what I'm doing. So, but we know that this is giving a good recording because of my frames per second not changing, and they're not decreasing. So that's one way you can tell, that, 6 megabits per second is not exactly fast, but it's still good enough to record a video and then upload it to YouTube. So once you get that all squared away and you hit OK, 6,000 kbs is equal to 6 mbs. 1,000 kilobytes is equal to 1 megabyte. So you set everything up, and it tells me that I want to have my frames per second set to 25. I want to have a high bit rate for high motion games so I can capture everything. I want the game capture to be maximum performance, and you basically follow this. So if I go back into Diablo settings, I make sure that everything in here is set up so that it is working correctly. Once you get all this set up, I'll turn it back on so you can see it. Now here's the difference. You can see that Diablo right here. This is Overwolf. Now notice in game capture mode, it's not there. Same thing with your TeamSpeak overlay and things like that to see who's talking. So that's good if you just want to make sure that all you're capturing is what's happening in the game. And obviously now you can hear the sound that the game is now back on. So that's it. I mean, once you have your source set up right here, that's it. That's all you need to do. That's all it will capture. If I switch these around, you can see that it's got my motion capture, my desktop put away, and now the only thing that's playing is Diablo. So that's how you set up Diablo or any game to stream onto Twitch or whatever else. Now, the other thing I can show you is right now it's on mode file output only. You want to change this so that it's on Twitch. That way, it's going to broadcast to Twitch instead of to your computer. And that's all that is. You don't need to automatically save streams to file, but it's nice if you want to edit them later and put them on YouTube. You know, do highlight reels, things like that. And that's, you know, how you do that part. So, yeah, that's how you do open broadcasting software, how to set up a game to record through it, and, you know, how to do a decently good quality on it. If you guys have any other questions on, you know, setting up a game to record or setting up open broadcasting software to do, you know, different things, you can ask me either on TeamSpeak or, you know, just throw me a message. And that's it. Have a good day, guys.